We are Meretz Hashem continuing in our journey in Mesillas Yesharim. Today's Shir, Thursday, the 4th of Tishrei, September 29th. We are going to finish up the first parak of Mesillas Yesharim. The Ramchal continues, Vihine, Achar she'adanu zeh. After we know this, that this, of course, being the idea that we espoused in the last year, namely, that the purpose of life ultimately is connection with Hashem. The purpose of existence is a relationship with Hashem, and that relationship could only be truly realized, fully realized, in the world to come. And therefore, this world, Olam Hazeh, is not an ends, but rather it is a means. It's the whole way. It's the Erev Shabbos to allow us to get to that meaningful, eternal relationship. After we know this, we now understand the importance and centrality that mitzvos and service of Hashem play in our life. Without mitzvos, we would not be able to find the sense of completion in this world. Because remember, as Ramchal pointed out in the last year, everything that is part of this world, all physicality and material aspects, are fleeting, temporal, and by definition incomplete. So the only way for me to achieve some level of shlimus, of completion in this world, is through mitzvos. V'ulam, yodua ki natachlis magia el ela mikoach kibutz kol ha'emtsoim asher nimtzu v'asher shimshu lahagio k'fi koach ha'emtsoim v'shimusham ken yatachlis hanolod mehem. V'chol ha'hefresh katan she'imotze be'emtsoim tibachin toldaso be'ber vadai be'agia zman ha'tachlis hanolad mikibutz kulam kimo shekasavti v'zebar. Okay, sorry, read a lot, but we'll translate now a little bit. So the Ramchal says like this: now that I know that mitzvos are the mechanism through which I actualize my entire purpose in this world, i.e. creation of relationship with the divine, so obviously now I understand that the more I invest in mitzvos, or I should say, the level of investment in mitzvahs will be directly tied to the nature and quality of the relationship. The more I invest, the better the relationship. The less I invest, the weaker the relationship. Me'ata, v'adehu shadiktuk she'eduktak al inyan hanitzas va'avoda, mukhrich she'eh betachlis hadiktuk, kasher yidaktiku shokli hazav va'penina l'rov yikaram. Ki toldosam noledes b'shlemos ha'amiti v'hayakar ha'nitzchi she'en yakar l'mala mimenu. So Ramchal says it very beautifully. So now that I understand that I have to be meticulous in mitzvahs. Now this is very important, because often when we speak about diligence or meticulousness in mitzvahs, often we approach it from a little bit of an infantile perspective, that I have to be careful with mitzvahs because if I'm not, I'm going to be punished. You know, so much of our Judaism and our relationship with Hashem is unfortunately so often rooted in an immature sense of schar and onish, reward and punishment. I do what's right because I want reward, don't want to get punished. I avoid that which is bad because I don't want to get punished, which again is helpful when we start out in our Yiddishkeit. But at some point then we have to graduate into something a bit more sophisticated and a bit deeper than that. So the Ramchal says that a person has to be medactic, a person has to be careful in mitzvahs, because ultimately, again, the more careful, again, and more diligent and more vigilant I am, the stronger the relationship. And he says a person should be as careful with mitzvos as one who deals in precious materials, right? Somebody who's handling gold or someone who's handling precious jewels. A person like that is careful with how they handle the precious materials, because mishandling it of it ultimately causes one to lose out on parnasa. Nimtzu lameidim ki ikar mitzias ha'adam ba'olam hazehu rak l'kayim mitzvos v'la'avod v'la'ama b'nisayon. My entire purpose in this world, again, is creation of relationship. Creation of relationship is affected through mitzvos, service of Hashem, and ultimately being able la'amo b'nisayon, to stand up in situations where I am being tested. As Ramchal said a few shiurim ago, life is a constant battle. It's a constant war, and every state and every stage is a battle. The ability to stand strong in those battles, to be successful in those battles, ultimately determines the nature and the mettle of my relationship. Va'anos ha'olam ein rosh yelo ela le'ezer l'siyah bilvad v'chishiyelo nachas rach v'yishav das l'man yuchal lefanos libo el avod azos hamutalas. This is beautiful. And how do we relate to the physical world? So this is beautiful. Physical world and physical pleasure is there to allow me to have greater nachas ruach, a sense of tranquility, so that I could serve Hashem. And herein lies part of the beauty of Yiddishkeit. See, if you notice, by the way, Judaism, we don't believe that the pathway to Hashem is paved through ascetic behavior. We believe Hashem put a beautiful physical world here for us to enjoy. You just have to enjoy it responsibly. And the way to enjoy it is to use materialism and physical comfort ultimately to allow me to focus on spiritual accomplishment. Just to give you the mashal. So let's say, how does Judaism look at wealth? Well, it depends how you use it. So if I say, Baruch Hashem, I have money, and therefore I can pay my mortgage, I can pay my bills, so that I'm not living in a constant financial pressure cooker. Where if I'm not living in a financial pressure cooker, then I have time to focus on my spirituality. So then it turns out that materialism, material wealth, material pleasure could set the stage for a certain level of tranquility, which material tranquility, which then allows me to focus myself on my relationship with Hashem. Va'amnam. Ra'oi lo shetia lo kol pniyos rak labari bar yisbarach v'lo yeshum tachlis acher b'chol maaseh sheyaseh im katan v'im gadol ela lehiskariv elav yisbarach. But again, one has to be careful not to get derailed by the material pursuits of life. And one has to be careful not to get derailed by material pleasures in life. And one must always be cognizant of the fact that my entire purpose is creation of relationship. V'lishbar kol mechitos hamafsikos beino lebein kono hein kol yonei chomrus v'hatali bahem ad sheyimashich acharav yisbarach mamish kabarzel achar even hashor eves. And a person has to try, says the Ramchal, to break down all of the barriers, because there are so many barriers and obstacles between myself and Hashem. And my goal is to break down those barriers. So there's two things happening over here. Number one, I have to use the material world as a way to create a sense of tranquility. Therefore, there's space in my life to relate and connect to Hashem. And I have to bring down the barriers that ultimately seek to create the distance between myself and Hashem. What's the goal? And here the Ramchal says something so beautiful. The goal is to break down the barriers in such a way until I am like a magnet with a piece of steel in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just like the magnet, right? The steel is drawn to the magnet. I want to create a reality in life where I am drawn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm drawn to Him with that magnetic pull. We'll discuss how that happens, but it's such a beautiful goal and aspiration. V'chol ma sheyuchal lachshov shemsay lekorva hazos yirdof acharav v'lo chavz v'lo yarpeyu u'ma sheyuchal lachshov shumniya lazeh Yivrach v'menu kivrach mina eshu kinyan shenemar tav kanaf she'acharacha kitam chiminecha. So this is so beautiful that Ramchal says, therefore now that I know what my obligation in this world is and what my goal is, so now when I look at different things in life, how do I decide what I should do, what I shouldn't do? The Ramchal says very simple. Anything that's going to help you actualize your goal of relationship with Hashem, go for it. And anything that's going to create the distance between you and Hashem, avoid it. And this is so incredible. It's such a metric, such a profound metric by which to weigh what I should do and what I shouldn't do in life. If something will bring me closer to Hashem, do it. If it'll distance me from Hashem, don't do it. Of course, the challenge in life is going to come to sometimes those situations where we're not sure. We'll talk about that. Last paragraph in the first chapter. V'hinei, achar she'adanu v'hispara etzleinu amitas haklal hazeh, yeshlanu lachkor al protav lefi madrigosehem, mitchilas hadavar v'ad sofo, kimo shesidram Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair ma'amaro shalo, she'evenu kvar b'akna asanu, v'hein hazihirus, hazrizos, hanekiyas hapirsha. So now that Ramchal says, now that I know what my job is in this world, right? What is my job? To create relationship, to utilize the material world to bring me closer, to bring down the mechitzos, to bring down the barriers, to be drawn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu like metal is drawn to a magnet. Now, says Ramchal, we go through the process of making that happen. And once again, as he said in the introduction, we're going to go ahead and follow the order as brought down by Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair said in the Gemara that there are different stages to spiritual accomplishment. Zihirus, awareness. Zrizos, alacrity. Nikios, cleanliness. Prishos, separation. Tara, purity. Chasidus, piety. Anava, humility. Yiras hachet, fear of sin, Kedusha, holiness. These are the different steps we're going to go through in the remainder of the Sefer. The Atur Nevarim Echad B'Siyata D'Shmaya. And now says Ramchal in chapter 2, we will begin in Miras Hashem to go through these steps one by one. I will say Mazel Tov on finishing Perek Aleph and Mesillas Yesharim. Looking forward in Miras Hashem to continuing this journey together.